Day has come and gone, and it brought maybe my favorite story of the past month is the new permanent stage at the Amphitheater at Civic Center. It is a really nice outdoor stage. Remind everybody why we needed it and how big it is and all that stuff.
Well, for the longest time we had a metal stage that you could raise and lower. It wasn't really a stage. So eventually it just wore out and it was unsafe. So then we got into a position where we had to rent a stage to have concerts. Well, when you have to rent a stage, that's anywhere from $8,000 to $12,000. So any concerts you had, start off the bat, you had to get a stage. So people said, I really don't want to have to rent a stage for my one-day event and then, take it down. So we no longer have that problem. We have a permanent stage. It's a really nice stage. And I think it's very big, and I think everybody's very pleased with it. It's also designed where we can hang all of the amplifiers and speakers and all the lighting. So I think it's going to make, and I already know it is, because it did for 2 days last week, a much better experience. It's also going to allow us to attract more and bigger entertainment because we're not being Hooterville and we have to go rent a stage from somebody.
How was the crowd for Celebrate Anderson? I know we had rain.
It was about a third of the crowd. We had people lined up at 2 o'clock to get in there, and they watched that concert, and it rained, and then it would not rain, and then it would rain. So for those conditions, we had a good afternoon with all of the free rides for children, and then we had a really good concert, and we had 2 good performers there. So everything worked out well considering the circumstances, but it's show business. Show must go on, so the show went on, and we had a big fireworks display, and that wasn't hampered by the rain. So we were all very pleased with those 2 concerts, 2 real nice concerts in 1 week. Well, we need to do a little more work on our pickleball courts. Just yesterday, we received information from Duke Energy that we're going to receive a grant to assist us in that. Just about a $40,000 upgrade. We've got to get some shade out there on those pickleball courts because they're used 7 days a week. People line up to use them. We also have to do the same thing in our brand new pickleball courts over there at Hurricane Springs Park, which Duke Energy also gave us a grant to do some more work over there yesterday. Plus, not just at the Civic Center, but we have a massive project going on at Dolly Cooper right now. Finally putting in that pavilion type structure over there and more parking. It's just part of the ongoing process. We already have the plan for Dolly Cooper, and as we get money and we get grant money, then we take that next step to improve Dolly Cooper Park.
Wellington has been a huge success, the upgrade there. Any other big news from the county's 37 parks?
No, well, we still have more work to do at Wellington. We have to do some more picnic type stuff down at Wellington.
But it's used, massively used now.
It's massively used, and basketball player, biggest thing we always had when we would go play at public courts is somebody tore the rim or they ruined the nets. We haven't replaced it one time. The community has embraced it and they take care of it, and it's a great success. A lot of things we need to do, a lot of things the council wants to do. As you know, we're doing recreation plans for
every district,
every council district, and the next 2 are going to be Councilman John Wright's district and Councilman Brett Sanders' district, and they are very interested in getting feedback from the community on what people want and where they want it and how they want things to do. So that's moving along real well.
Well, one of the other big news items, and it's in the works now, is the new jail, the new detention center. The council approved a bond, $55 million. We've discussed this in the past, but remind people why this is urgent and where it will be located and when it might be finished, that kind of stuff.
It's going to be located exactly where the jail is now. So we're not going at any place else to put a jail. We had the final presentation yesterday from the architects. We had 3 people respond to the request for qualifications. The county committee will be making a recommendation to council on Tuesday night. Today we are receiving the interest rates, and interest rates are very, very critical on what we can and cannot do, and they all have to be in by 10 o'clock today, which is today, September the 15th, and we think we're going to be looking pretty good with some. We just have a good feeling that we're going to get a good interest rate because the county has an excellent credit rating. So we're going to see that. And then really, after an architect is selected Tuesday night, if council selects one, which I'm pretty sure they will, and we get the bids on the bonds. We have a meeting here at 9:30 in the morning with the Finance Committee chaired by Councilman Brett Sanders. Not his regular Finance Committee, but the Jail Finance Committee here tomorrow at 9:30, September the 16th, to examine the interest rates and say, hey, this is a good rate, let's lock it in and let's move forward. So the council is really fast tracking this because, again, that jail's rated for around less than 250. We got 450 there today. And people say, well, you need to build a stockade. Well, they won't let you build a stockade. And you ought to put inmates to work. Well, we have inmates. We have 2 inmate crews that go all around the county picking up trash. We also use trustees and put them in various parts of the county to do various parts of things. But again, 80% of the people, and that changes day to day, in that facility have not been convicted of a crime. They haven't had their day in court. And so it's time to do this. Our detention officers, who we care a great deal about, right now work in probably the most horrible conditions of anybody you've ever seen because, I mean, it is just no room. And as I've talked before, there is no juvenile facility there. Now, if we lock up a juvenile, you have 2 officers who have to go to Columbia, go through the check-in process and drive back to Anderson, and we have to pay for them to do that. We're going to take the newest part of the jail, turn that into a juvenile facility, and since there's none in the upstate, or very few, we will be able to put our juveniles in a safe environment, but we'll also be able to take them from other counties nearby, which we can make money on. Are we going to get rich? No, but it will help pay for the overhead and the utilities. So council's looking very strongly at that. So that jail process is being fast-tracked. So it's time. Nobody wants to build a jail. Nobody wants to spend this great amount of money, but it's one of the things that the county is required to do, and so we're going to do it, and we're going to build it, and we're going to build it with an eye towards the future. If you look at some of the latest population projection numbers we have, population in Anderson County is 220,000. There are a lot of people moving in here, and we need to do away with that medieval prison that we have.
How about federal prisoners? Will they be able to use it?
The city of Anderson takes federal prisoners. Now, the reason you take federal prisoners is because you make money on federal prisoners. And that would be another income stream that would help pay for the detention officers and the new jail by taking federal prisoners. Also, this jail, when it's constructed, will be able to be expanded. The center part of the jail, where you have the kitchen and the medical and all that, will be built to take care of future needs. And then if you need to, you can add another pod at another time at a much less expense on the same footprint. Whole lot of things going on in Anderson County. The council's moving this here, moving that there. We're going to be moving the Clemson Extension Service from Tower Street into the county's 1428 building. We think that's going to make it more.
Remind people where that is.
That is the old TTI Ryobi building on the bypass. We now have a sign up so you know it's an Anderson County facility. If you look very closely, you'll see Anderson County's brand new shop that has been completed. Now we have probably one of the best shops in the world, and it's improved morale, allowed us to retain good mechanics, and it makes everything flow more smoothly. And so that's been a big boom. Tri-County Tech is fixing to do some automotive type stuff in this area. We're working with them about apprenticeships for their students to work in our shop. We think that would be a good symbiotic relationship right there. They could get training, and if they're good, they can get a job and stay with us.
Council also recently approved raises for the deputies. Why was that a priority?
Well, county council's charged with primarily public safety and welfare. Some of our neighboring counties have increased their pay structure, and in order for us to retain the wonderful deputies we have now and to remain competitive, we want to be right there with them. And so our deputies are going to start, off the top of my head, around $48,000 a year, which is, if it's not number 1 in the state, it's right there in the top 5, and we're really proud about that. Council takes that seriously, and so our deputies are going to get a well-deserved raise, and we just think law enforcement is the number 1 thing that the county does. I mean, sheriff's in charge of running that operation, does a fantastic job, but council funds that whole entire operation.
Lots going on at the airport. Tell people why there's so many airplanes coming into the airport.
Well, Oconee received a federal grant, and they said, if you want this grant, you need to let us do this work now. So they closed the Oconee Airport. And Pickens got another grant. We've already gotten these grants and fixed up our airport. And they said, you're going to close the airport. Well, they closed it right during Clemson football season. There are a lot of people who fly into our airport, Pickens and Oconee, to go to Clemson football games. There's a whole nother slew of people who use these airports to get to their houses in the mountains because, it's right there. All the people up there in the cliffs and all of those places who have second homes, and fall's the busiest time of year for people to come and enjoy those. So thank goodness we have Brett Garrison as our airport manager. He was well aware of what was happening, and so we made plans to be able to take this extra traffic. We're even getting a temporary tower, air traffic controller, on the weekends to help us manage this. The Clemson University plane's been relocated to Anderson, and we're hoping that the level of service and the standard of service that our airport provides, which is second to none. I mean, if you land at our airport, you're taken care of. We're hoping a lot of those people will go, well, we're just going to stay here and we're not going to go back to these other airports, because our airport is ILS. We have instrument landing system. We have the longest runway. So that's something we're proud of. We hope to cherry pick some of that business because that airport runs on the sale of jet fuel. That's where the money comes from.
Last time we talked, there have been a few really big announcements finalized. I guess the biggest was Bosch's announcement to build a hydrogen fuel cell facility in Anderson. 350 new jobs. How long was that project in the works, and why is it so important in Anderson County?
Probably at least 14 months from start to finish. It was a search that was international in nature, and because of the people who work at Bosch now and the great reputation, we were able to win this project. Why is it important? $350 million off the top of my head. All of those new jobs, that's going to be good for Anderson County. It was an international announcement. It was big here for us, but it was big in the United States, but it went around the world. It sends a message that Anderson County can do anything, which we can do anything, and that they decided to put that here. But hydrogen fuel cell, what they're developing it for is for long haul trucking as an alternative fuel. So they're going to be doing the research and development and manufacture and all of that here. So we think that's pretty cool. It is very cool.
And you were involved with the economic development team that brought Bosch to Anderson back in the 80s, right?
I absolutely was.
One of the Volvo groups has talked about a new facility to make parts for their company. Any more details emerging on that deal?
Oh, that's still in progress, but Volvo, they're located in Berkeley County, and they're dealing with a lot of people and buying material and supplies from local people in Anderson County, and so council acted on that to make it easier for that to happen, because if we can grow our local economy here with our homegrown businesses, that's what we want to do, because we care just as much about them, or maybe even more, than the new people who come in, because they were the ones here in the beginning, and we work very hard to make sure that they're taken care of. We're doing 2 sewer projects, one water line and a sewer project on some existing industries to help them, because they've been hiring people and paying taxes in Anderson County for a long time. I mean, we have a whole division that deals with existing industry because, do we like the big flash and boom of a new announcement? But we know where the bread and butter is, and that's where we're going to take care of. Quality's adding another 100 jobs because they're putting in a new line. If you go up and look at Arthrex, you see that there's construction going on there. When that construction stops, there'll be more construction going on there. Some of our big employers are going to continue to increase. There are plenty of jobs in Anderson County. There are plenty of good jobs in Anderson County, and there are going to be more jobs in Anderson County. And you've got some huge developments in housing. I mean, if you saw Packlet and Milliken's announcement, they're going to build 3,000 homes on Clemson Boulevard, which is in Pickens County. But you take one step over the invisible line, and that's
just
Pendleton, and that's Pendleton. They've got new subdivisions coming in Belton. We've got a lot of interest and activity in the southern part of the county, so we're having to deal with sewer issues down there. As a matter of fact, we had a meeting this morning on how we can serve a large tract of land down there that somebody wants to go to right now, but we just got to work out the sewer details. But really, if you talk to industries that are here, and new industries talk to existing industries, don't think they don't, because they want to make sure we're not telling a whopper. But everybody brags on the quality of people who work here, and I think that has a lot to do with our textile heritage, and I also think it has a lot to do with our agricultural heritage, because I don't know how many people have grown up on a farm, but I still say the hardest job in America is running a dairy farm. After you do that, everything else is pretty easy. So we just have a good work ethic in this area, and we have good people in this area, and people know that and recognize that. That's why these people come here.
So y'all target, you say this would be a good fit for here, and y'all start working.
Well, yeah, we don't need trash. We don't need that. Our workforce doesn't need that. We need people who are going to increase our average wage, which is around $21 right now. We want that to grow higher and higher and higher. In the last 13 years, it's gone from $13 an hour to $21 an hour. You have to take inflation into account for that, okay? I don't want people to think that we don't take that into account, but that needs to continue to grow. And with the people that are coming in and the new jobs we have, we're going to get that point where it's going to be $25, $30 an hour. Not right off the bat, but $1 or $2 bumps pretty quick.
I think Bosch was $30 when they were
$30 an hour, and that's a whole bunch of people who are going to be making that, and that's walking in the door money. We like to have a diversified economy. We always have, so we don't put all of our eggs in one basket. I mean, we've got medical, we've got automotive. We're doing expanding a project we had with research and development for new products in the food industry. We've got the hydroponic farm going down there. You just need a broad mix of things, so if something goes south, everything doesn't go south.
It's a good time to remind people too, this is the first time really almost since incorporation the county has had the original land stretching over from Murray to McDuffie.
Yeah, all of that is now back together. And that was a goal we had to have this whole block. We have that whole block. So we're going to be very careful if we do anything to break up that. And we're fixing to spend $1 million on fixing up the old courthouse. A lot of it, we're going to repoint the bricks outside. We have a lot of work to do on the roof. Some of the timbers that you don't see up around the clock tower have been there since time began, so they need to be replaced. So council has authorized us to pursue that. So hopefully that'll be starting in the probably next month or two.
Zoning is always on the table when we're talking about it. And one of the big stories of emergence last time we talked is the city of Anderson looking to annex land on the corner of East-West Parkway and Concord Road, maybe 400 to 600 new housing units. And a lot of people are worried about this because, one, it's not what was promised to the residents when it was built, and two, the drainage issues to the 5 subdivisions on Cox Creek. Is there anything the county can do to curb the city's expansion and rezoning, or is just by law there's not much?
If the landowner requests or petitions to go into the city and the city accepts, there's nothing we can do.
So just one person buys all that land?
If one person bought all that land and requested to go in the city, our council prefers it to stay the way it is, and it needs to stay the way it is. Now, it's already zoned. You can do some things there. But high-rise apartments and other things like that, you're taking something that is a beautiful trail. We're working hard, they are working hard on the other end to connect it to 81. Working hard to connect it to the Civic Center. You can see that work going on.
All the way to the YMCA?
All the way to the YMCA. And then we want to take it further than that. So it needs to be pretty and nice where people can enjoy it, and I think that's what our council wants. Well, what council did is they made it almost impossible for the county to change that zoning, because a simple majority won't change that zoning. It was put in so a super majority would have to agree to any change, and they don't want to change it. And if it remains in the county, I can't speak for council, but their opinion is they won't change it. And you do have drainage problems in that area, which we have been addressing on the county side, and that it would have a wide impact.
Because those early councils were mostly, the county council members, if my memory serves, were large landowners who really wanted to do what was good for the county, but they didn't want anybody to zone any of their farm property.
And you still have a lot of that in Anderson County, people's private property rights, and our council is very respectful of that. But then, you have situations where people don't want anything else to come around them. But if you don't have anything in place, look, I was here so long ago when we instituted the first land use regulations. And again, you would have thought that communism had been introduced into the land. So, and to a large degree, large parts of the county are still under those land use regulations, but not zoning. But our zoning process in the county is people have to petition the council to put it on the ballot for a vote. And so it's in the people's hands.
Let's go to the mill sites. What's the latest on the Equinox site?
Still working on the Equinox site. We thought, and it's still the middle of September, that we would have closed on that. Hopefully we may still close on that by the end of September. So that's in the works.
Got to get it closed before we can do anything else.
Yes, yes.
About Belton, Honey Path, Iva, those mill sites?
Talking to the people in Honey Path about their mill site, Senator Mike Gamble got $1 million to help Honey Path clean up the old Chicola mill site. The mayor's working very hard on that. We're assisting with that process. We have some developers that are interested. I'm not saying they're fixing to build. You have people interested in the Equinox site. You have people interested in the land, the old Chemtex land, I called it. You have a group from Charleston that want to develop that. You have some of the same developers are looking at the old Abney Mill, Anderson Mill site. So you have a lot of activity there. And you know we own the Toxaway site, and we're talking with, and already have awarded part of that to a developer to present us a plan to develop. But we want to do that in conjunction, hopefully, with Anderson University and several other players over there, because we think that has the chance to be something really, really special.
Is funding for demolition of blighted housing getting any better? It seems like that list, no matter how much money you get, just grows and grows and grows. What are the challenges of getting rid of those properties?
Well, we're starting asbestos removal next week on some houses, primarily in the Homeland Park area. And when we get that through, we'll be able to take down around 6 houses. But it's still hard to find money for demolition, and the council funds it. And our treasurer is real good about trying to find money to help us demolish houses. Again, that's one of the things that people like the best. We have also taken some of the lots that we have received when we cleaned up a whole lot of unsafe houses in the county. We gave that land back to the town of Williamston. We gave Honey Path their land, and Belton their land, and Iva their land after we cleaned it up, took care of it. So we're giving it back to the cities, so hopefully that they can develop those sites and put new houses in there. So that's where we are with that. All of that just happened.
It's almost election season. I know Belton has one the 25th, and Anderson County's Board of Registrations and Election has not missed a beat under their new director. Those new voting machines have worked well, and people don't know how it works. They electronic and paper verification.
Yep.
It's been in place a while, and they're out and encouraging people to register to vote. The downtown location, is that where they're going to stay? That seems to have helped the visibility of voter registration.
There's no plans for them to move anytime soon. The county owns that building, and it seems to work very well. People know where it is. You're not riding all around the world trying to find it. Where is it? It's right up there on Main Street. You can easily find it. The big thing going on at Paul's right now is getting ready for the Halloween spectaculars they will have. Last year they probably had, I know, a minimum of 1,500 people. There's a whole lot of candy. It's a great event. People are dressed up.
Dogs are dressed up.
Dogs are dressed up. If you have that time to go down there, you will have a wonderful time, and your kids will have a wonderful time. And if you're 80 years old, you'll have a wonderful time. It's just a fun, festive occasion, and hopefully we'll adopt some animals out of that, because as you know, there's a crisis all across the country right now with shelters. The shelters are slammed full, not just here, everywhere, and we think that has something to do with COVID. Let's get a pet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, we got to go back to work now.
Yeah, I don't want a pet anymore, so we're struggling with that. The Iva Library building is a very nice building, but it is kind of off the beaten path. And School District 3 would really like to incorporate all of that area for their use.
Because it's in the middle of all the schools.
It's in the middle of everything. So we're working on a downtown location in Iva, which we think would be good. It would be updated to make it completely ADA compliant. It would help downtown Iva by putting something that gets a lot of use, and it will get more use if people can see it. So we think it'll help the school district, we think it will help Iva, and we think the library will become more of a hub because people will see it. It'll put activity on Main Street, and that's all you ever want is activity on Main Street. So they'll go check out a book, or they'll use the computer, or they'll go in there to try to find a job, and then they might just walk down the street and get something to eat.
What about the progress in the broadband county-wide? Do they give council regular reports on updates?
We try to keep council appraised of that. There's a grant that we're working on right now called Middle Mile. And we met with Upcountry Fiber last week and really meet with them almost daily on that. And that will help us get to a lot of the rural areas. So we're putting those applications in, and they're putting fiber in the ground right now. I mean, they're up in the Pendleton area, they're putting fiber. They're moving as fast as they can.
Sandy Springs area getting
Sandy Springs area, they're getting there. But then you also have AT&T's up putting in new fiber, and you have Charter who's putting in new fiber.
And that's because they don't want to lose those areas.
They don't want to lose those areas, and some of them have territories that they haven't served, so they have to serve. And this big broadband money really hasn't hit yet. But Upcountry Fiber's putting so much in. One of their contractors has now put his office here in Anderson so he can serve everything that they need. So we're getting there, but it's going to take a while. But we want to make sure that we get as many people connected as possible.
All right, finally, as we sit here, the downtown Christmas tree, which last year topped out at 44 feet, will have its unofficial lighting in 64 days.
Correct.
Any details on how much it'll grow this year? Any new decorations for the county square, the county historic courthouse?
I think the little elves are working on maybe tweaking the decorations, and the little elves are Teresa Bannister and Adrian Cole. So they're cooking up something, and I've just been told a little bit about it, but I'm sure it'll be spectacular. We're continuing to fertilize the tree, so we think it's going to be bigger. And I think the Chamber of Commerce is going to do their cookie crawl again, so there are a whole lot of activities that a whole lot of people are planning. I think it's going to be great, and Anderson looks good at Christmas, and Anderson looks good anytime, but it looks spectacularly good around Christmas, so we're looking forward to that.
And
always.
Remind people why that November 18th unofficial lighting is going to happen.
Because people come back to Anderson for Thanksgiving holidays, and then they go back to where they were. But so we want that tree lit up so when they come home, they can go take a picture in front of it. The families can come downtown and see the tree lit up and get into the holiday spirit. It doesn't make any sense for us to keep it dark during that Thanksgiving time, and that's something we changed, and it's worked out real well. And a lot of those people, when they come back and see that tree while they're home visiting, just decide to come back home for good. So it does a lot of things. And that tree appears in more Christmas cards than you can ever imagine.
Have there been weddings out there too?
Weddings out there, and families in front of the Christmas tree. That's their Christmas card that they send out. And so it's just become something wonderful. And now that we've got the Fireman's Memorial over there, there are more things to do over there. And that looks spectacular at night. If you haven't seen it, you need to go over there and take a look at it.